Hey, Rocky Drean AG. Thank you, Pastor William, for this opportunity to share today. My name is Richard Brooks, and with my wife Tori and our daughter Carice, we are AGWM missionaries to Belgium. Now, when I said Belgium, I bet the first thing you thought was chocolate. Yes, Belgium has the best chocolate in the entire world, and I can say that from experience. It is delicious. But what you may not know about Belgium is that for a country roughly the size of Maryland, where you guys are, they have 3 national languages in 4 land regions, all run by 7 governments. And they all struggle to get along. Each region has its own culture as well as the language, their own laws, their own way of doing life and school and transportation. All of those things are completely different depending on which culture you go to. And we feel God calling us specifically to the Flemish culture. Belgium is also unique in the fact that it has the highest income tax rate in all of Europe. 53% of their income goes straight to the government. And a part of the reason for this is they have one of the highest rates of anxiety over the future. They want to guarantee that their future is secure, and they hope that by serving the government and giving to the government, that the government will take care of them for the rest of their lives. All they have is that hope in the future through their government. It's led to this point where only 1.5% of Belgians claim a personal relationship with Jesus. It's best illustrated through these bean jars. This jar right here represents the United States of America, where roughly 27% of Americans claim a personal relationship with Jesus. Now, that means we still have about 75% of our population that needs to hear the gospel, that still does not accept Jesus. All of the light-colored beans are those who have accepted Christ, and the dark-colored ones are those who still live in darkness without Christ. But the problem in Belgium is while in America we can share the gospel because we have Christians, Belgium, being at only 1.5% of its population following Jesus, the issue becomes there's not enough Christians to share the gospel with the people of Belgium. There's not enough neighbors, co-workers, family, or just people in their neighborhood that know Christ and can share the gospel with them. This is what we call Europe's gospel access crisis, and it's a problem throughout all of Europe. And we feel that God is calling us to help serve in Belgium, to be a solution to this crisis. And He's called us to do this in a number of ways. And the first way is just by living as an active witness in the community. Our daughter goes to a Dutch-speaking school, and at this school, she spent her first year just loving on her teacher. Her first year, when we would go to grocery stores or we'd go on vacation, she'd want to get a souvenir or some chocolate or a treat just because she absolutely wanted to show love to her teacher. And God showed His love through her that entire year. And at the end of the year, when we had to come back to the States for itineration, the teacher talked with us and shared, "I have never felt the kind of love that your family has shown." Now, she didn't give her life to Christ in that moment, but we learned that living every day, knowing that God is your leader, God is your Savior, and just living a life in that way, people notice. People notice that something is different about you, and they feel it. The second way that we feel called to minister in Belgium is through anti-human trafficking work. In Antwerp, they have the largest red light district in the entire country. In this district, there are men and women from primarily South America and Eastern Europe. It's mostly people outside of Belgium, and most are outside of Western Europe, aside from Spain. And the people that are here Most of them have not chosen to be in this situation. All of them didn't wake up one day wanting to do this, but they were put into difficult situations where the choice became a lot harder, or they were trafficked into the situation. They were physically taken and put there. But what God has done through breaking chains is he set up a ministry center 1 block away from this district. And this ministry center called the Oasis Cafe, run by Breaking Chains, has been a light in this community for over a decade. And in that decade, they have seen change. A few years ago, a woman came to faith during one of the Bible studies. She had heard the story of the prodigal son, and she had heard the gospel a number of times before. For years she had been coming. But for whatever reason, this night, hearing the story of the prodigal son, a switch just turned in her brain, and she understood that God the Father truly loved and wanted to forgive her. That if he could forgive the prodigal son, he could also forgive her. And the next Bible study, 2 nights later, another woman, hearing about her testimony, gave her life to Christ as well. And since that time, since January of 2023, we have seen around 15 people give their lives to Christ. God is moving in Belgium, and he is making his word penetrate hearts to hear about the hope they can have in him. But one of the biggest difficulties for those who become Christians is in post-Christian Europe, people who have a religious faith often are rejected by the secular society. Most of secularists believe that they are beyond the need for God, and that's the case in Belgium as well. So when someone comes to faith, their families can reject them, their jobs can reject them, they can lose job opportunities, and their friends can leave them. And so the church becomes absolutely crucial for them. In Flanders, in the Dutch-speaking part of Belgium, there are 45 Pentecostal churches. Of these 45 churches, only 4 of them have at least one pastor. The other 41 have no pastor at all. And most of those 41 churches have less than 20 people in each. There is a desperate need for church revitalization efforts in Belgium, and especially in Flanders. Our prayer is that as we serve in these communities, that we will partner with these churches, helping train and equip those who feel called to ministry to become pastors planted in the churches where there is no pastor. And our ultimate hope is that as these churches are revitalized, they will in turn be able to plant churches of their own throughout Flanders, in these cities and the villages that have no gospel access, who have never heard the gospel or have only heard of a wrong portrayal of the gospel. And as I close, I just want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for what you do there at your church, serving your community. And I just wanted to say that when you ever get the opportunity to come to Belgium, when you get that opportunity to potentially come on a missions trip to serve the people of Flanders, to serve the people of Belgium, then you'll see a sign that says, "Welcome to Brussels, the heart of Europe." Now imagine with me, what if the heart of Europe began beating the gospel, began pumping the gospel through the veins of all of Europe? This would not only change Belgium, but it would change Europe and the rest of the world. Would you partner with us in this through prayer and giving? Would you consider joining us in this effort? And maybe even today, some of you have felt that call yourself. As I shared, we are the first missionaries to go to Flanders. And there are 3 other units that are coming, that are going to Flanders as well. And us and these other couples and families are the first ones to go. And would you potentially consider joining us? Maybe God's put that call on your life. And if it's not in Belgium, that's fine. If it's somewhere else in the world, this world desperately needs Jesus. And so thank you again. And if you feel that call, talk with your pastor, share with them. And I wanted to close with this. We have seen what it's like to have churches with no pastors. There is so much missing when there is no pastor. They are essential to the success and growth of a ministry, of a church. So what I'm asking is that you would thank your pastor for the sacrifices they have made. That when they say, I believe this is where God's taking us, that you would stand alongside them and lift up their arms like Aaron and Hur did with Moses. Would you come alongside them and pray with them? Just like every person in the world, no matter who you are, a pastor or not, we have struggles. And God has called the church to support the pastors as the pastors lead and guide the church. So would you come alongside your pastors and do that? Thank you again so much. We appreciate all you do in serving your community and the communities of faith around the world. And we are so grateful for what you are doing there in Maryland. Thank you, and God bless.